Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I am Janae Smith with eHoldings. We are the MWBE coordinator for BPG, and today we are here to support PJ Dick and the Ironworkers Union and providing some information for non-union companies. Thank you for your time this evening. I'm going to go through a little bit of housekeeping before I turn the meeting over to Teresa Giacomino from PJ Dick. So just so you know, when you came in, you were notified, but this is kind of an additional notification that the session is being recorded and will be available. If you don't feel comfortable with folks being able to see you in the recording, please turn off your camera. During and throughout the meeting, if you have a question during the presentation and you kind of can't hold on to it, or want to make sure that we address it, please use the chat feature to simply send the question to everyone, and we'll make sure during the dedicated Q&A segment that your question is addressed and acknowledged. If you're having technical difficulties throughout the meeting, you can chat, you can look into the chat and chat Allison Hutch. She'll try and help you as best as she can to make sure that whatever your challenges are, we can address them. And last but not least, I don't believe we have anyone joining via phone, but should someone join via phone, they simply press *6 to toggle or turn off and on and mute themselves, and then *9 to raise their hand during the Q&A segment or thereafter. And with that being said, I want to thank you again for your time this evening, and we are going to go ahead and get started. I will turn it over to Teresa. Teresa.
Janae, thank you, and welcome everyone. Apologies, it is my fault for a meeting at 4 o'clock on a Friday. So we will do our best to give you all the information you need, take the time necessary, and allow you to get along with your day. So again, thank you for coming. Teresa Giacomino with PJ Dick. I'm the CSIP coordinator for the project. Our partners are Mascara and Macero. Today we are trying to bridge the gap and allow some communication to start between non-union companies and the union representatives here today. We have Dave with the MBA and Greg with the Ironworkers. As Janae already introduced herself, for eHoldings with the MWBE Outreach is moderating. Next. So today's objectives, I'm going to gloss over the building a bit. I believe everybody knows what that is. I want to reiterate the MWBE participation goals, just identify PJ Dick, our subcontracting and the union affiliations, turn the presentation then over to the unions to introduce themselves, talk about some of the things that you may or may not know about, the path to a project agreement, and then open it up to any questions. Next. So the office building, formerly the area where Melvin Arena stood, will be a 26-story core and shell construction building for the FNB bank. There's compliance requirements with the city, RCAP funding, which will apply for the steel products on the project, and there's MWBE participation. Next. So of importance is the MW participation for the businesses. There's 30% minority, 15% women. We also have a job creation local inclusion goal of 20% new hires. The priority workforce is the Greater Hill District community, and then you can go outside that area for minority hiring. There is a regional map in the bidding documents that are out on the streets. The overall workforce development is 25% minority and 10% women. PJ Dick is signatory to 5 unions: carpenters, laborers, cement finishers, operators, and iron workers for the rebar only. So what does that mean for a non-union subcontractor? In order to directly subcontract with PJ Dick to provide labor, the subcontractor either needs to be signatory to the union or have a project agreement in place. Next. So just to kind of give you an overview, 450,000 hours is our projected workforce hours for the project. The next slide breaks it down a little better so you can pull out different trades and the total hours we have estimated. The Ironworkers, 55,000 hours. Next. So now I'd like to turn it over to Dave Daquilenti with the MBA. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Janae. Appreciate the time and the opportunity to speak with everybody this afternoon. I really enjoyed participating in these info sessions and connecting the non-union, non-signatory contractors with our labor leaders, and the opportunity to answer and ask any questions representing the general contractors and other specialty subcontractors in the region. Very excited to participate in this and open up opportunities. One of the things that we found through this process that we think is helpful is to clarify some of the language that might be unfamiliar, but commonly misused. And so the difference between dues and fringe benefits, as you can see at the first bullet point, dues would be something that a member pays to their union as a member. The fringe benefits would be something that the contractor is responsible for on behalf of their employee, the union member. And that would make up the total package from a negotiated standpoint above the wage level. Pension, health and welfare, apprenticeship training, et cetera. Those are types of fringe benefits that would be paid by the contractor to the fund office on behalf of the employee. Other financial obligations with certain unions, there could be a surety bond that is required. Again, this would look to help cover the fringe benefit obligations for a contractor. I believe Greg will speak a little bit more to that a little bit later on. And when are the fringe benefits due? Each union is different, but typically there is a working period. Let's say, for example, now the month of June, and those fringe benefit payments would be due to the fund office by the end of the following month with reporting. Sometimes it's the 15th, sometimes it's the end of the month. There are some unions that also operate on a quarterly remittance, but it is always reported and remitted after a work period. Next slide, please. So here's some introductions and some contact information on this slide as well. Again, I've introduced myself with the Master Builders Association. Tom Melcher, who's not on the call this afternoon, is the head of the Pittsburgh Building Trades. He's also available as a resource and happy to answer any questions or comments that you may have about this process. And then we've got Gregory Bernarding, who's the business manager and financial secretary treasurer for the Ironworkers Local 3. We've also got some information here regarding the Builders Guild of Western Pennsylvania and the pre-apprenticeship program that we've got set up through there, the introduction of construction trades. Information is available at thebuildersguild.org. Next slide, we'll turn it over to Greg, please.
Dave, you're turning it over to me?
Yes, sir, if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. What do you guys need? I mean,
I think there's should be a slide of, if you can see the screen there, it just goes a little bit about the Ironworkers. If there's anything you'd like to share specific to your union, anything with the contractors that are on the call today.
yeah, I don't know what contractors are on the call today. I mean, PJ and Lucero.
If you want to go to the next slide, those are the bullet points, Greg, you and I talked to on the phone. If you want to talk to each of those bullet points, or, I could ask you the question and answer it if you're having problems seeing it on the phone.
Yeah, that's so. Yeah, so so I guess if a contractor was interested in signing an agreement with us or a one-job agreement with us, we do have a one-job agreement. They pretty much talked about some of that stuff. One-job agreement would just hold you to the union for one job until you complete that project. Your workers, I'm not sure if the workers you're bringing workers with you, the contractor, or if you're going to use our workers. I mean, that's what we do. We supply skilled workers, but if you want to bring your own workers, then they would have to come through the union. We have a probationary program that we could sign them up through. If you'd like more information on that, just ask me, and I can touch on that as well. But you know, the surety bond, we do have a $20,000 surety bond just for the, sometimes we have contractors that are delinquent and paying their fringe benefits. So this kind of bails them out until that money's, you know, until it's gone, until we can collect our money. What else we got here? Do you want me to talk about the probationary program?
Yes.
Does anybody have an interest about that, or?
So you know
Yes.
what? Perhaps you can chat a little bit about the probationary program, Greg, and then Teresa, we can go on to the next slide and then open it up for Q&A.
Sounds like a plan.
Good to me.
You know, Allison, you can go ahead to the next slide. Teresa, you're on.
Okay, so
Teresa, this is my slide, I think, if you'd like me to cover it.
yes, that is good. Thank you, Dave, very much.
Sure, not a problem. So as we mentioned, there's several factors to consider here when you're looking at becoming a signatory contractor, whether it be for a one job or for a full commitment. And it needs to be the right business decision. But there's a couple of things here that we think are big benefits, assets to becoming a signatory contractor, one of which is the dedicated training that's provided through the building trades unions. The Ironworkers here on the call today have a state-of-the-art facility, and those training dollars are all provided through the collectively bargained agreement managed by jointly held trust of employers and labor leaders. And that doesn't cost you anything above and beyond. It doesn't cost the apprentices anything above and beyond. And so the opportunity to come out of a skilled trading program like this as a journey person and be of the highest quality is something that we do feel is certainly a competitive advantage for our contractors. The other piece would be the health and welfare above and beyond training. Certainly something that is an asset to you as an employer to be able to provide really high quality, well-covered benefits, medical benefits to your employees as well. There's a next step bullet point there, and that's really just a call or email and reach out. The union, as Greg's been on today, is an example of their willingness to work with you, build relationships, and provide highly skilled, qualified workforce to enable you to complete the projects that you have and help build this region out. Next slide.
Janae?
You know, I love when you can't find the unmute button. And so something that's important that we've heard from minority and women-owned businesses is access to additional resources. And so what this slide provides is some information about training opportunities that are available, about financial resources that are available for a project of this magnitude. The URA has some working capital options that may or may not be of use to you and your firm. And last but not least, the union pre-apprenticeship programs that will help people find and work their way into bona fide union programs. And so we wanted to kind of share this slide with resource information, both for those of you who've joined the call, but then also for others who will be watching this recording so they can have access to this information now and in the future. And so with that being said, I'd love to turn it over to the contractors who did join us today on the line to see if they have any questions. Teresa and Greg and Dave are here to answer any questions you may have related to Ironworkers Union and the project in general.